Hello and welcome to Solving the Meeting Equity Challenge, Optimizing Your Hybrid Meeting Experiences, sponsored by Barco. I'm your host, Kenna Johnson from the Channel Company. During the past 2 years, workers have come to expect new levels of flexibility due to the hybrid workplace. The Barco Clickshare Hybrid Meeting Survey found hybrid workers are growing more concerned about perceptions of unequal and less productive meeting experiences while being apart from their colleagues. Today, we're going to discuss the challenges of the hybrid workplace and how Barco can help solve those problems. Joining me today, we have Jennifer Sigmund, Senior Segment Marketing Manager at Barco. Welcome, Jen.
Pleasure to be here today.
So glad you could join us here. What was the inspiration behind the ClickShare meeting survey?
So, Barco's been doing this survey for the past 4 years. It was introduced in 2019 as a way to keep a pulse on how meetings were going and what people were doing in terms of expectations regarding technology. And from that research, we actually created the Barco Meeting Barometer Index, which actually measures how workers experience the quality of their meetings. The barometer is measured pretty much in the same way a Net Promoter Score is. So you detract the negatives, the people who think meetings have worsened, from the positives, people who think that the meetings have improved. And at the time we did this, more workers were happy with meetings, right? They gave it an overall score of a positive 63. Today, 2 years after COVID, we have seen the barometer drop significantly, showing a growing frustration, if you will, with meetings in general and more around the technical and emotional aspects of the meetings. In September 2020, employees were still carefully positive about meetings. It was about an index of positive 17. And in 2021, the score descended to a minus 25. And then, of course, just this year, it just plunged to a minus 38, mainly because about 71% of people said that meeting participants were experiencing hybrid meetings as being stressful. And, we've uncovered a little bit more about this. It's a little bit of like a meeting paradox, if you will, because approximately 80% of respondents really prefer hybrid work. However, 71% of them really perceive them as being stressful. And of course, on the positive side, people want the freedom to work wherever you want to work. You don't want to have to worry about time constraints. And, that the challenges that come with flex hours and, inflexibility, right, to kind of keep that balance with your life. So, people would like to work from home about a day and a half a week with about 3.5 days in the office. So kind of that's what's going on, a little bit of the paradox with that.
After nearly 2 years of remote and hybrid work, why are some employees still having trouble fully engaging during hybrid meetings?
Yeah, that's it's really a great question because it's in our research, we found that really more than 1/3, about 35% of workers still have trouble engaging. A significant sort of that disconnect emanates really from the perception of oversight, if you will. 28% of people find it really, really difficult to get their voice heard, to feel like they're part of an engaged conversation when they're actually in a remote call. Twice as many people are also feeling like meeting leaders really cater a lot to the people in the room. So, we can all relate to this, right? We've all been sitting on meetings remotely for 2 years. We've all come to understand what it's like to be sitting in a meeting remotely for the most part. And as people have started going back into the office, we've started to understand what it's like now to really be a remote participant and to try to get your voice heard into a meeting or to feel like you're part of it. And there is just this big disconnect. So that's something that we're really, really, working on a little bit more to understand. It's interesting because collaboration really and connection between employees are really kind of the glue of the company in a way. And in a hybrid environment, it can be really hard to obtain that same level of meeting equity in a meeting. And so that's what we're really kind of focused on understanding more.
What are some of the challenges with returning to the office?
Yeah, okay. So most knowledge workers have been at home now for approximately 2 years. And we've all learned to work with our laptops as a basis for meetings and work. And in our research, we found that, the return to on-site conference rooms, has a few challenges with it. So first of all, people are learning that now that we're coming back in and we've had our own computers, there's a different expectation about what that experience is going to be like in a meeting room. And people want to enjoy that same type of experience and do that same type of experience in a way that they've done while they've been remote. You would forget, it's hard in the tech industry because so many of us live and work and breathe on our computers and always have. But a lot of people in a lot of industries, haven't necessarily worked on computers or done meetings remotely like we're doing here on a Zoom or a Teams call. And now, in a way, this is a new and a different experience. So coming back into a conference room now requires them to rethink about exactly how they're going to do that. We found in general, too, that most businesses have at least one video-enabled meeting room. But really only about 39–40% of IT managers say it's really set up for employees to work the way that they want to work. So, we're seeing that that's why people are having these real challenges, because they can't do the experience that they had at home into the meeting room. And so this is something that we're focused on. If we think there's one thing right now that we know that from our research that we've seen, is that the one thing that would make the whole experience easier and be more consistent for everyone is if, IT set up their meeting rooms so that they're fairly consistent and there's a consistent experience across them. Most aren't set up that way, and we'll talk a little bit more, but right now, a big pain point was, 50% of people said they really dread moving from one meeting to another meeting in a hybrid type mode because of the setups of the room.
What are some technical frustrations workers have with joining and navigating hybrid meetings?
The right technology has to be enabled to enable an efficient hybrid meeting. It's really kind of the heart of a meeting room where both remote workers and in-office workers are connected effortlessly. And now moving ahead in this whole hybrid world, it's really critical that this all works together. Video conferencing technology should be really the main priority, but it can be a challenge to make technologies work together seamlessly. The ecosystem in a room, when you think about it, is a whole lot of different types of technology, right? And space. You're talking about hardware, you're talking about software, you're talking about displays and furniture, and everything in that room really needs to work together to be productive and to foster that type of engagement. By equipping these rooms with the right tools, you're going to allow people to come in and have that experience and have that whole optimal type collaboration experience that you want. As we learned in our survey, 80% of respondents said that it'd be easy to do the type of hybrid meetings they need if they had the right type of easy to use type of technology. So, that's why here at Barco, we really focus on, compatibility with our Clickshare product, which we'll talk a little bit more about. It really works with about 80% of all the cameras on the market. And we work with all the top players to make sure that no matter what cameras, no matter what peripherals are used in a conference room, everything works together.
What triggers stress in a hybrid meeting?
What doesn't trigger stress in a hybrid meeting? I'm just joking. Stressors. Even in spite of all of the productivity gains that have been acknowledged during the pandemic here and the effectiveness of working in a hybrid mode, hybrid meetings themselves are super challenging. Virtual and hybrid collaboration requires a certain level of tech savviness from the employees, which is really not the same for everyone. As I mentioned, a lot of us in the tech industry know technology, we use it, we still get frustrated with meetings and when technology doesn't work. So it's really important to recognize that this is what people do on a day-to-day basis, right? They do their jobs. They just need the technology to work, and they need it to work every single time, consistently, every time they walk into a meeting room. People have issues, they're wrestling with cables. Almost 50% of people wrestle with just things like attaching a cable so that you can share some content. And almost 60% of people have issues sharing content. So, malfunctioning meeting technology is just probably a big issue. Over 50% of people just have simple things like expecting a camera to work, to link into a room for a display to work. And then invariably what happens is it doesn't. And that just causes a huge amount of stress. So beyond that, you've got the stress of the people who are obviously in the meeting room. And then we also have the stress of all of the people who are sitting remotely going, oh my gosh, are we ever going to get this meeting underway? People can't hear people because of the audio issues. They find it difficult to engage because either cameras aren't working or things aren't going to the right spot. And it's really difficult as well for people to read body language. So those are probably the biggest things that are causing stress. And it not only affects their own meetings, but it ultimately affects happiness at work. So as we move ahead into this hybrid world, we really need to reduce that.
How can you improve the collaboration experience by choosing the right platform?
So the collaboration experience is not just about the platform itself. IT departments can implement meeting room technology and collaboration solutions that make the connection with remote users kind of seamless and easy. The key is really to allow employees the flexibility to use their own laptop and their own mobile devices in the conferencing platforms that they want to use. The ability to support multiple calls on different platforms. So, not everyone is using one platform today. We know that people bounce back and forth between a Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting, WebEx. So that flexibility to be able to move and within those different calls is also really important. Basically, conferencing tools should be able to enable people to do video collaboration with just one click. As soon as they walk into a room, you should be able to set up a meeting or join a call. And it should be a very, very intuitive process. This is what the Clickshare experience is all about. The Clickshare wireless collaboration platform really is an easy way to do wireless collaboration. With any UCC platform, whether you want to use a familiar Clickshare button, which most people know and has been around for a long time, or workflow optimization with our desktop or mobile app. We basically do this through a set of smart meeting flows. And if you're okay, I'd actually like to just kind of talk a little bit about those meeting flows because they're kind of unique and something new that's really helping people just not have to think about the technology, but just walk into a room. So with smart meeting flows, things like being able to walk into a meeting room, we're able to immediately have someone look at their laptop as they walk in and see whether or not the room is available. If you walk into a room, the meeting should automatically know that you are there and that you are the host of the meeting and should give you that opportunity to simply start that meeting with the start of a button, with one push of a button. We have something called host flow, which allows you to kick off a meeting with everything kind of, walking you through the process very easily so that you really just don't have to think about it. Because the last thing anyone wants to do is, oh my gosh, I'm going to hit this button now. What happens? Is the camera going to turn on? Is things going to turn on? They're not. We have some other capabilities like advanced sharing, which will allow you to show a full screen or an application window and then be able to take notes or do something in the background. That's super important because the first thing you do when you present your laptop in a meeting is that, oh my gosh, now I can't do anything because I'm stuck with presenting. So we've taken care of that. And the other thing is too, a lot of times now in environments when you're presenting, you can't see the people who are on the call because of course your presentation is up. So with a conference view capability that we have now, you're able to do that. You're able to show your content and make sure that people stay on the call at all time. And of course, all of this is just easy to do with a one-click join. So those are some of the things that we think are super important and that are needed to make things seamless and easy for people who are doing presentations. In essence, hybrid technology or any type of agnostic wireless room system should be there to make work life easier, right? And since employee expectations have changed significantly, organizations will clearly benefit when they put employees kind of at the heart of all these meeting experiences and stop thinking about tech first and start thinking about employees first.
Not all employees have the same needs for collaboration. What did your research find on meeting equity?
Yeah, so meeting equity has really become more than a buzzword. If you look at, what is it? Meeting equity is all about creating an equal experience, for meeting participants across all workspaces. So whether I'm coming in remotely, whether I'm in the office, whether we're in a meeting room, whether we're in a cafeteria, wherever we are, or whether I'm off-site, it all should be consistent. And of course, adding remote participants to any type of a meeting makes collaboration more complex and intuitive. But there's also some actual physical differences between participants in video meetings. Besides the technical factors we already discussed, is the dynamics of side conversations, nonverbal cues, distractions, especially for people who are remote. Oh my goodness, trying to deal with video calls and distractions, dogs running around, kids or something can be quite the challenge. And in global companies, such as Barco, we compound that challenges by trying to coordinate people in different time zones and of course with all the different cultural nuances. So there's a lot to take in consideration for this. So it's a challenge, and this whole meeting equity is something that we're going to hear about quite a while. Well, everyone really is still trying to figure this out. And it's going to become a real priority for organizations that want to thrive kind of in this new hybrid working world. This is going to be this new focus in general on inclusion. So it's going to be important.
How does the demographics of the meeting members play a factor?
So interesting about demographics. We actually looked a lot at McKinsey because of the work that they have done around this. And what they have found is that companies that systematically invest in equity and diversity really have a competitive advantage. Inclusion matters, and the most diverse companies are the ones that are most likely to outperform less diverse companies on profitability. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? It's always the bottom line. Companies in the top 25% for ethnic, racial, and gender diversity on executive teams are significantly more likely to have higher financial returns and profitability. Also more attractive, 39% of people say that they have turned down or decided not to pursue an opportunity because of a perceived lack of inclusion in an organization. We know from some recently completed research that we're also doing here internally that men and women with young children have much more of an interest in hybrid working as well. Also, interestingly, senior executives who have more space in private offices at home also have more of an interest of actually, working from their home. Now, granted, in general, there's been a lot of interest, and like we said, 80% want to do hybrid work, but a little bit more of those demographics would like to do this even more so. And then for companies that are seeking to optimize, business and recruit and retain top talent, the ability to support these different types of groups with this hybrid working is really going to be important. From a technology standpoint, making hybrid meetings, easy is going to be critical to supporting a hybrid working environment. Our research shows, even if you take a look at some demographics between the Gen Zs and the Gen X, 59% of Gen Z, which are the youngest, these are the folks just now coming into the market, are having a tougher time with technology issues and giving them stress. And a lot of it is probably just because they are so young and they're just still trying to learn and adapt to the norms about businesses and how things work in an office. Our goal is really to help the younger ones coming in learn technology, and then those who maybe have not used technology as much, not worry so much about the tech and just make it an easier experience.
Jen, you've done the extensive research. Why is Barco the solution?
Clickshare has been the easiest way to share wireless content in a meeting for over a decade. Most people are familiar with the button in the room. You just press it and you can share all your presentation content in a meeting. Essentially, it freed people from using an HDMI cable and enabled all participants in a room to equally share content easily. Something that hadn't been done before. We had to pass around an HDMI cable. So really what we've done is we've taken that from just an easy way to do presentation to now being able to share an entire meeting wirelessly in a hybrid type of meeting environment. So that same one button now works to do that for an entire meeting. And as people are returning to the offices and they're using Zoom or Teams or WebEx platforms, they want to be able to use and continue to do that same type of experience that they did at home in the office. So that's what Clickshare Conference does in essence. It allows people to simply do that. When people go into a meeting room and start or join a conference call quickly with the touch of a button, that is what people want to have happen. And we had over 70% of people that say that that's indeed what they would like to have happen. Just let me go in and get this meeting started. So Clickshare, really transforms a meeting into a hybrid conference simply with a single click, and the smart meeting flows that I just walked through a little bit before. It's addressing the challenges of using video conferencing by providing an easy way to create a hybrid meeting regardless of what platform you're using. It's simply a better way to run a hybrid meeting.
Where can we learn more information?
Okay, so there's a few different ways. First, obviously, you can go to our website, www.barco.com. You can visit www.meetingequity.com. That, in essence, is a site that we have that details much more about this research and what we've done. You can also download the report. In addition, we have a number of podcasts that are happening right now with different experts and alliance partners from across the industry. So take it out, take a look at it. There's folks from alliance partners and other people who are sharing their expertise and giving their insights about what they think is going. Last but not least, try and buy on our website. You can easily go in and register for a 30-day trial. Give it a try, see how it works for you, see how easy it is to actually get a meeting started, a hybrid meeting started, and bring people together. And last but not least, you can always reach me at jen.sigmund@barco.com if that still doesn't answer your questions, and I'll be happy to redirect you and get you to the right folks to answer the information you need.
Jen, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you at home for watching. For the Channel Company, I'm Kenna Johnson.